Hello, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. So let's portal to the magic of books. Now, let's first, just in case you aren't familiar, this is one of Brandon Sanderson's newest books. This is one of the second secret project book that he wrote during the COVID pandemic, and it is quite a mouthful to say, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, but I had a really fun time with it, and while it is lighthearted and kind of fun, I think it has some pretty good lessons and not morals to take from it, or lessons you can learn from it while reading it. So I think it really fits in this nice, yes, it's fun, you can give it to anybody, but if you kind of dig a little bit, you can totally see some more important things about us. First off, this is no spoiler, but I think the cover is hilarious because it's the outline of a guy kind of in a portal type thing, or a beam of light, and he's got a book in one hand and a gun in the other hand. And if you look really close, his face has the cheesiest, most rascally smile you've ever seen. So it is just super fun cover, and I really liked it. And I think we're just going to have to get into some spoilers and start talking about the plot and everything, because it's kind of tough to talk about this book without talking about what's actually inside of it. We could talk a little bit about the writing. I think it was really good. It's his still clear pane window glass that he likes to do. I can't find fault. I don't ever have an issue with his prose. I know some people do, and that's a topic for a whole different discussion that I don't really want to have, because prose and what it is to people is just so subjective. I really prefer the window pane clear glass, and other people don't. So we're just gonna gloss over that for right now. It doesn't bother me. So let's just get into the plot here. Let's talk about the plot. Our main character shows up in a field, burn marks, and he doesn't have his memory. And I thought this was actually a pretty good amnesia story as it goes along, because he does start getting his memory back right away. Well, not right away, but every so often he'll remember something. He'll do something to remember something. And then I like that he builds, he's okay, I remember I did this one thing. I'm going to build my entire life around this. I was with a cop once. Therefore, that's everything. That's who I am. I'm a cop for sure. No, I'm not. Okay, well, I'm good at drawing, so I must be a really good artist. And no, it's not. And I like that he kept trying to find things. And just throughout the whole book, he's always, till the very end, he's always rating things. And I thought that was awesome and just funny, I just woke up in this field with no memory. 3 out of 5 stars. That is not fun. And one of the other characters, this is full spoilers, remember? So, his friend Ryan is you have to stop rating things. You're always rating everything. And he's like, you're bringing stuff down. You're trying to rate it. And it's I'm not rating. He's I'm not rating it because I'm judging it or trying to be mean about it. I just want to find out what I like. And if I like it, then I don't have to rate it anymore because I'll know I like it, But he's I don't know what I like to do because he's not really done anything. And so I was I can totally relate to that. Sometimes when you're in a spot where you're just I don't know who I am or what I like, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's I'm just gonna, was that fun? Not really. So I'm gonna give it a low rating. I totally understood and sympathized with him on that. I did not think it was bad. It was more funny. It's probably more geared to us, but it was still really good. All right, so let's get back to the plot. He is captured by some locals. They think he's an elf or an elf or a mystical creature. He kind of tries to trick them. Doesn't work. One of them, Sephowen, she thinks he is a con man, and she's why are you doing this? Why aren't you grifting somewhere else that has a little bit more money? Then it turns out he hears of some other travelers who have also portaled in. I forgot to mention he has a book with him, or the remains of a book, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook to Surviving Medieval England. And so we know that he has traveled here through a portal. It's kind of an offshoot of our world that just has not progressed as much or slower, and they're able to go to it and then come back and forth, right? So that's how we get where we're going. He sees that there are some, he learns that there are some other people from his dimension or his world that are here. He's these people will help me. Then he sees them and he remembers that they hate him and they want to kill him. And he's oh crap, I gotta hide. And then, as we get the pieces, it turns out that's part of his former gang where he was kind of their doorman and they kind of owned him and paid, So he's trying to figure this out. It comes up that the only reason that he randomly picked the only world that Ulrich, which I thought Ulrich Stormfen is just hugely reminiscent of the Skyrim character Ulfrim Stormborn. No, it's Ulfric Stormcloak. So I was every time I saw that, I was oh, this is it feels like a Skyrim reference to me, and I liked it. I just thought that was a lot of fun. So we're going through this world. We're learning about the wights, these little spirits that will go around and do favors for you. They'll take things apart or fix things if you leave them out an offering and kind of make them a deal. Turns out our main character, who we learn his name is John West. Everybody calls him Johnny. He's kind of being haunted by one that's kind of following him around, and other places aren't liking it, or other whites aren't liking it because they're usually more solitary. And so it becomes his goal to just, get the portal technology away from Ulrich and get back to his world. He thinks first, he thinks he's an artist, and he's like, oh, cool, no, I'm not an artist. And he's like, oh, I'm a cop. I found the last page. It says I'm a cop on the back. I must be here to arrest Ulrich, and that's why I know so much about this gang organization. I'm not a gang member. I'm a cop. No, turns out he was the gang member. Very low, not really, nobody likes him though. So let's just talk. I'm going to skip over the plot for a little bit. They go through, they do some fights, they figure some stuff out, they meet up with Ryan, they try and save the world, they try to stop the Ulrich from taking over. They kind of do, and then the Hardiman, the Vikings kind of come in, and they have to stop that, and then at the end, that's the end, and they've kind of saved the day. So, but I really like that this book, let's see, if we talk about John, he is a very flawed person, a very flawed character. He feels like he's good at nothing. And I think the book is really good at showing that even though he doesn't think he's good at things, he is good at a lot of things. He's obviously good at rating things. He's good at making friends, and he has the opportunity to always be making himself better. And as soon as he kind of gets rid of his memories and his thoughts, then he is able to start making himself better, and he's able to choose and to change yourself. And I think that's kind of one of the main things of this book, is that you can be better, you can change, you're never locked in, it's never too late, you can always move forward. Another thing that this book really exemplifies, I thought, was bravery. For Seth Owen, she feels like she's a crook because she knows her loosings and her bindings don't really do anything because she has no power. Now whether that falls on her fault or on Woden's fault, for the god, for not helping her, that's up to interpretation, right? But at the very end, she is confident and she's convicted, and she's like, no, I am not going to just let these people come in and take over. I'm going to be brave. And she shouts her defiance and she screams. It was such an amazing scene, and the artwork in the book depicting that scene and depicting some of the other scenes is really good. I thought it was very well done. But just screaming that she defies him, and then, that was a little bit of a gruesome scene, right? When the Vikings are coming in and one comes to attack her, and one of the Lance White, after she proclaims, and the whites are starting to get courage, right? All it takes is one person to kind of start standing up and doing something good, and then other people can follow. The light winds up and takes apart his sword and disassembles it as he's swinging it, so it doesn't do anything. And then it crawls in him and disassembles him. There was very good imagery right there for me. I was like, oh, that is a creepy picture that I do not want to see anymore. I'm going to keep reading past this and hope I don't see it again. So it was very well done. But I'm talking about these important things, like it is so critical and crucial to these characters that they all are going through this change, at least Seth Owen and John, or Runion as he's chosen to be called. And at the same time, this book balances a very funny thing. Like, it's got very serious moments and still very funny moments. He is able to help other people. He saves Eastlund using his nanites, and he's like, hey, wait, this is something I can actually do. Like, I love that he talks about how he's like, oh yeah, I'm from the future and I have all these advanced knowledges. And he's like, yeah, but I can't really do anything with them. Like, I know about a computer, but I can't build a computer. I can't make a computer work, So it's just funny. It's just like, oh yeah, I can't actually use all this knowledge that I have. I mean, I can kind of. He's like, I can kind of, but not really. And he's like, what can I do to help these people? Oh yeah, my nanites, I can use them to heal. I really like that. I thought it was a lot of fun. Just a moment. It starts as serious and then it gets real funny when he's like, oh, I have to leave because, people's presence, because we're too solid or too real, hurts the world and can kill the whites. And he's like, well, I'm going to have to go die. And so he is talking to Trope, who is Logna, the god of monsters, which was just funny. I did not see that coming because everybody's like, oh yeah, she's like a crazy witch. And he's like, I don't really believe in witches. And she talks to him and she's like, oh yeah, I'm just a crazy old lady. And since I've made it this long, everybody just assumes there's something magical or mystical going about me. And so they leave me alone. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. So you lean into it and you play up the magic and the mystery and the weirdness. And she's like, oh yeah, totally. And then it turns out she is a god, the Woden's sister and one of the bigger gods. And he's like, did everybody know about this but me? And they're like, yeah, she's Logna, the god of monsters, the bringer of the end of times. And he's like, how did I not know this? But to our other thing, when he's trying to be serious and he's talking to her, he's like, I have to go. And he tries to drown himself in the river because he can't swim. And he falls into the water and it's only 2 feet deep. And so he sits right back up and he's like, oh. And she's laughing and I'm laughing because it's just so funny. He's trying to be serious. And that's how it is. Sometimes when you are trying to be serious and thoughtful and smart and something doesn't go exactly right, it's just hilarious and so funny. So I like that scene. Then he's like, oh wait, I don't actually have to leave. I just have to keep wandering. He basically dedicates his life to living there. So good. So let's talk about some characters here. We've kind of hit the plot for a lot of parts and the atmosphere a little bit, or the writing for a little bit. Let's talk about our characters. I like that we get a little bit of a comparison between John and Ryan. And it's something I noticed, it's explicitly stated, is that everybody calls him Johnny, but he never introduces himself as Johnny. He always says, my name is John, like I'm John, but everybody just shortens it to Johnny. And that's a little bit of a derogatory thing for him, because he's like, can't even get my name. And even his friend, Ryan, and his ex-girlfriend, Jen, who pretended to die so she could go infiltrate Ulrich's gang organization, which I was like, I knew something was going on as soon as we met Ryan, and they're talking about Jen a little bit. I was like, something's going on with Jen. She probably faked her death. Not a big call, right? Because it was like 2 chapters later and it's revealed. But it's good enough for me to call it, so I did. Now, what I didn't call was that she was cheating on him the whole time with Ryan, who is like the perfect emblem of the perfect person in his life. You know, always friendly, always smart, capable at everything. Oh, and in regards to that, I love the conversation they have where he's like, Ryan is telling Johnny, John, you have to take responsibility. You messed up your own life. It's all your fault. And he's like, I agree that like I am to blame partially for my actions, but how much of it is also just the world and the system and everything that happens? Like I got in trouble once, and then the next time they assumed it was my fault. You know, I lost this, and then I lost the next thing. And then by little, you start to believe maybe I don't deserve to win the thing. I can't win the thing. And that just pushes you into a circle and a cycle, which is, it's very valid. Like he says, it's not 100% the world's fault, and it's not 100% his fault. It's just a mix. That's life, right? If everything hadn't gone so good for Ryan, would he be in the exact same spot he was? Would he still be the optimistic person he was if he had more? He had challenges, but I hope you understand what I mean when I say that he had challenges and opportunities for success and that he was able to succeed there. So I like that line. That was a nice heartfelt moment, but it's still just like, man, John, your friends suck. Like they don't care about you. They don't like try and support you. They don't try and build you up. They're just like, yep, that's John. He sucks. So I'm glad that he was able to get some real friends and see what real friendship was like, even though he didn't really know his memories, and that he's able to build on that. And he did fundamentally change who he was. He went from being, I can't do anything, I am the worst, I suck, to being like, no, I can do things, and I can be brave, and I can make my own decisions and choose for myself, right? He wasn't locked into those choices anymore. And then I thought, of course, I mean, we have the Sanderlanche episode, the Sanderlanche, or the Avalanche of Sanderson at the very end of the book. It was the same as always, just a mad dash to the end, and you can't help but hold on and laugh and have fun with it. But I love the ending where they're going, Seth Ewan and Runyan, or John, have got together. They're telling stories. They're going around, and every night Logna comes in and gets on his laptop and starts reading about all of the next world. And we learn that she actually, because this is a point. Oh, okay. I'm going to remember something for afterwards. But turns out that she has swam upstream from other realities that were further down, which we've been told explicitly isn't possible. That you can't go from a lower dimension to a higher dimension because you're not real enough, or you could say spiritually dense enough. Now, we're not going to get into any spiritual realm because this is a non-Cosmere book, but that's a little bit of what it felt like. And we learned that she has actually moved upstream until she got to that world, and now she's stuck. And she's learning about portal repair, and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. Like this, it's a standalone. Of course, this is a standalone, but it totally like leaves it open almost for like new books. I don't think there will be any, but it gives you something to think about in your mind and to envision. And I like that we learn all this. We learn this at the very end, that they moved up and they are wanting to keep moving up and go to like the highest spot. This gave me a little bit of shivers, but in a good way. So, and I love that this was like the one world in all of the portals that have ever been like tested that actually have magic or whites. Just hilarious. Overall, I'd have to say I really like the plot. I like the book. I thought this was a really good amnesia plot, something that I think can be done well, and I can see it being done. I've seen it done very poorly. And in the end, I'm glad that I read this book. I think everybody should give it a chance and read it and think about it. It has some good messages and some deep messages, even when you're just looking at the surface level. And I think that's all I really have to talk about. The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Oh, I remembered what I wanted to talk about a few seconds ago. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. Every chapter, we're given parts of the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which had exploded on his context because writing's been forbidden in this world for temporarily, at least for now. And it's the parts we get are just so funny. Can I have a realm of talking bananas? No. you can. It's like, but you said anything goes. It's like, well, the book explains it's like our narrow band of portals that we've bought or using is this and this, and it's possible, but it's very unlikely. And the way we test for portals, it's hilarious the whole time. And you've got these nice little drawings kind of showing things that are going on and things you can do. It's awesome. I love those little drawings in the books, and reading the handbook as he gets pieces of it and is learning it. It just brings this nice levity of almost a reset even in the difficult parts. So funny. Like, the handbook has got to be one of the funniest parts of this book. But that is going to wrap up my discussion of The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. And if you have any questions or comments, please send them to libromancypod@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. And remember to portal to the magic of books.